live from Frisco, Texas. It is the Carl Jackson Podcast. Wanted to give you this quick intro to let you know we will be back in the studio very soon with new episodes of the Carl Jackson Podcast. We've already filmed them, we just haven't released them yet. Long story on that, they are coming. All right, so check out this episode. You're not gonna see my face because I recorded it audio only, but there's some good stuff. You don't wanna miss it. Let's go. Can anyone find me a cover of Bill Cosby or the Cosby Show family, the Huxtables, on the cover of People magazine? Or did they only put Bill Cosby on the cover of People magazine after the scandal? Because I'm seeing Snoop Dogg on the cover of People magazine as the face of a great family guy. But I never saw the Huxtables on the cover of People magazine as a great family to idolize, black or white. But I could be wrong. If you know of a cover of Bill Cosby or the Huxtables being on the cover of People magazine at the height of the show, when it was popular, outside of Jet and Albany, because Jet and Albany did it all the time. If you know of a cover, please send me an email. I'm in Frisco because we're working on building sound stages somewhere close in this area. Still working through some things. I'm getting so much inspiration being here. I wanted you guys to check out the Frisco Public Library. It is so freaking dope. Episode 3, Season 8. I am in Frisco, Texas on business. As I previously said at the opening of this podcast, I want to try a new way of doing this podcast this season. We'll be back in studio in the coming weeks. In fact, the episodes are already done. We just haven't released them yet, as I said previously. But I wanted to release this one first because of the climate that our nation is in. And then I'll start releasing some of the other podcast episodes that we've done already in studio. I think one of the things that made me want to do this episode this way is because I want to try a new format in the coming seasons. I'm only going to do 2 more seasons after this season, season 8. I'm going to do season 9 and season 10. And one of the things that I noticed that I did differently this time around was I had a lot of guests. And when I originally started this podcast, as I've said many times, I didn't start it thinking that I was going to have a lot of guests per se, and especially a lot of celebrities. And I had a lot of celebrities over the years do my podcast, and I am so grateful for them. But the initial reason why I started this podcast was because I wanted to establish a different perspective on world affairs from a spiritual perspective, more so to help people live better lives. And if I were to have guests, I was going to have guests that I felt would kind of fit the narrative of what my subject would be. But in the process of doing that, I started to kind of get into the whole, I guess they can call it the rat race of having the most popular guest on the podcast, because I wanted to compete with everybody else that was, having these amazing guests. And so what I did was I started copying that whole system and started doing things in that way. And it's cool, it's fun, but then what ends up happening is you start thinking of yourself as Jimmy Fallon. You just want to see who you can get the hottest guests. And it becomes this whole rat race. And I started to feel more and more like it's not the race that I wanted to do. That wasn't the whole concept of the podcast. Now, I am developing a nightly talk show that I might be doing. I don't know if I can do nightly, but maybe weekly, a weekly talk show. Once this podcast ends, I'm developing a weekly night, a late night weekly talk show. And so on that show, it'll be a little different format. It'd be a lot different, actually. And it would make sense to possibly get into the rat race of having guests. But even in that concept, I'm going to make sure that my guests are kind of aligned with the things that I believe and the things that I want to put out into the world, because that's important. We got to put out into the world the things that we feel are going to be positive for the future. And I want to say, as I am doing this podcast, I'm purposely doing it to copy Shannon Sharp. I'm actually doing this podcast in the lobby of the Swank Hotel that I am in. And so I am literally got my mic set up, and I've got my little system here, and I'm doing this podcast because I wanted to kind of look at the people as they go by. I'm in a corner. Obviously, I'm in a nice little corner so that I'm not bothering anybody. But yeah, I wanted to do it this way because I want to be able to look at the people as they go by as I say what I'm about to say. So I started this episode with the Cosby Show theme because the name of this episode is The Cosby Show. And for reference, if you hear anybody talking or anything in the background, it's because I'm literally in a nice, swanky hotel. So you have people that go by back and forth. So anyway, I started this episode with The Cosby Show because I wanted to really establish what this episode is about, and that is the family. And I was going to call it the Black family, but it's not just the Black family, it's the family. But I think the Black family was hurt the most. and I'm going to get into that later. But the black family, for some reason, when there's something that's chaotic, they always put the black face in front of it to kind of let the black face be the lead for anything that's chaotic, and then anything to do with wonderful things or, happiness or money, it usually is the face of another race. And I'm not going to say what race, but I think we all know, if you live in America, we know what that race is. And so for some reason, that's such a big thing. Like they really want to promote the black family as being broken. And so I started this thought about the Cosby Show because I wanted to go into why I think the black family is in desperate need of saving, but not just the black family, families in general, but more so the black family. So if you look at the Cosby Show was promoting one, and before I go into the Cosby Show, we're not talking about Bill Cosby and what he allegedly did or didn't do. I want to make that very clear because a lot of times people want to merge the two, and we can't merge the two. Bill Cosby, the man, is not Bill Cosby, the actor and writer and director, or I should say producer. He wasn't really director, but producer of the Cosby Show and the concept of the Cosby Show and what it represented. So let's just separate the two. And I know that's hard for a lot of people, but we have to separate the two in order to make a bigger point and showcase a bigger issue and put light on a bigger issue. When you look at the Cosby Show had one father, original mother, original kids, meaning there were no step kids, there were no step parents, there were no step anything. It was just two people who fell in love, who were always showing each other love, and they had kids from that love, and then they built a legacy out of that. And they included, if you really watch the Cosby Show, they included the grandparents as well, who were still together, and every so often they would have fights, but for the most part, they always worked it out. And it wasn't really a lot of fighting. It was more love and laughter. And I mean, we all laugh at probably my favorite episode of the Cosby Show is the Thanksgiving episode where Heathcliff Huxtable literally is having to go out and get eggs, and then he has to go get flour, and then he has to go get sugar. And and every time he goes out into this wet, horrible storm that was happening on Thanksgiving Day, he comes back more and more just beat up, but he's doing it because he loves his family. And so many of us fathers can relate to that. At least I could, because I understood it when the episode came out. Obviously I wasn't an adult, but as an adult, I look back at that episode and I go, wow, this is such a powerful moment, because I've lived that with the mother of my daughter when we were together. And I remember I would have to, she would cook. She was a great cook. That was probably the best thing about the relationship, is that she could cook. She could burn in that kitchen, right? So I would go out during holidays. I would try to go out before the holidays and go get stuff, obviously. But then, there are times you people forget stuff, and she would call my name, Carl, I need this or I need that. And I would always feel like, I just sat down, to watch a movie or to do this or to do that. But I, gladly did it because it was for my daughter to have a great Thanksgiving or to have a great Christmas, right? And so anyway, that was one of my favorite episodes. And the point that I'm making is that the show always showed this amazing family, to the point where it was the number one show on television on Thursday nights. I mean, I remember there would be times where we would go home at 7 just to go see an episode of The Cosby Show, because we didn't want to miss it and have to wait months and months before we could see the rerun of that show. And so it was like almost a standing appointment, like the Super Bowl, to watch the Cosby Show on Thursday nights at, I think it was 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. And so it was a ritual for a lot of us, whether we were black or white. We would watch the Cosby Show because we could relate to that love. It's interesting to me that they ended the Cosby Show on the number 8, season 8. 8 is supposed to be a number that a lot of Satanists use to disrupt or to manifest disruption. And I won't go into that in this episode. You can look that up, the number 8, what that means and what it represents. It's also a good side to number 8, but it's also a bad side to number 8. And I'm not here to say that, Bill Cosby was a part of this ritual to break up the black family or to break up the family. I'm not going to go there because I don't know. I can only speculate. But what I can say is the results of what happened after the Cosby Show ended is pretty obvious. And that is the whole thing that we consider love and family and original parents, it died. And a lot of people feel like it died in the 70s when they brought in, drugs and crack in the black community. And that could be somewhat true to a certain degree. But I think the Cosby Show really brought a lot of families back together. But when it ended, it was almost like ritualistic. It skyrocketed. Broken families skyrocketed. I mean, the laws changed. People started. I mean, in the 90s, the music had started to change. The music started to change from a lot of people's perspective in the 80s. In the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of love songs. In the 80s, it started to change. Everything I Miss at Home, by Sherelle. I used to love that song, believe it or not. I love the melody. You give me attention. Da-da-da-da-da-da. You're someone who understands my need. But the song is actually a negative song. The song is about cheating on your husband. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, it's not a song to uplift people. It wasn't like Luther Vandross's Power of Love, But there were so many of those type of songs. I mean, today it's just like ridiculous now. But then I started, we all can say it started to change. The music, the lyrics started to change. Not that people didn't sing about cheating, but I'm saying the majority of the music wasn't about cheating. It was about loving. But slowly, these people that were promoting love were leaving the world stage, from Luther Vandross to I mean, you could just name them, one left to right. You can start naming these people who were leaving Earth that were promoting love, or they were taken off the world stage if they were promoting love. And then meanwhile, they started replacing people who were questionable about what they believed in love and how they perceived love. And all of a sudden, we were starting to see the promotion of broken homes. Court started to get involved in raising our kids because of the divorce rate started to skyrocket. It just became more and more evident and obvious that child support was created to break up the family. It was basically Uncle Sam was becoming the new father of the home, and the power was given to the woman to be whatever she wanted to be and create whatever life she wanted to create. And next thing you know, child support is now a norm. Step parents are now a norm. And let me just say this. I think step parenting is a mistake. And I've done it. I did it to my ex, who she had 2 kids before we had our child together. And I would just remember the feeling of the father, who were the father of those other 2 kids, And I remember how I would see him drop off his kids when I had first started dating this woman, and how sad he was. It wasn't like a sadness of, well, I want her back. It was more of a, he built this whole legacy to, he picked this woman and he had the kids and he wanted to see it to the end. But that was taken away from him. And here I was blindly now, but knowingly dating this woman. And ultimately we had a child together. But I'm knowingly dating this woman and seeing how happy she was versus the pain that he was feeling. Now, I was a lot younger than I am today. So obviously, we don't think about those type of things because we're just kind of caught in this web of deceit and lies about how family is supposed to be structured. One thing I didn't do, though, I didn't marry her. And it was because I felt that there were things and belief systems that were in place with this person that I felt would not be conducive to having a great family. Now, little did I know that years later I would find out why I was feeling that feeling, which I'm going to talk about a little bit today. But at the time, I didn't know. So before I say what I'm about to say, I don't want people who are step parents to feel slighted. That's not what this is about. I think step parents will understand this point that I'm about to make. Step parenting is demonic. It comes from the pits of hell. It is so demonic because it is about disruption and breaking a legacy and creating order out of chaos. Now, again, if you're widowed, that's different. Like say you died and then you marry someone and you continue that person's legacy by taking care of that family. If you're a father or if you're a husband or if you're a wife who marries a man whose wife died and you marry him and you guys continue a legacy together, that's different. That is a minority. That is not demonic. But purposely disrupting families under the term irreconcilable differences, which means basically nothing, is literally order out of chaos. And if that man or woman is not beating you or trying to do something to harm you or your kids, there's no reason to divorce your husband and there's no reason to divorce your wife. And, Christ, Yahusha talks about this, the Messiah, he talks about this in all the Gospels. If you study and believe in the Bible, it talks about how a man should not put away his wife and marry another, and any man that marries her is committing adultery, which is a sin. So it's no different than fornication. If you're married to a woman and you got a living spouse somewhere walking around this planet, and she still loves you or you still love her, or even if you don't love each other, if you married her and made a commitment before God and then broke that covenant because you guys didn't get along, quote unquote, then you're living in what they call demonic activity. Whoever you married, it's not going to work. And statistically, it says that. Second and third marriages end up ending quicker than first marriages, because the second and third marriages were really created out of selfishness. You're not thinking about the kids, how it affects them. You're not thinking about how it affects the person that you left. You're not thinking about how it affects anybody. It's just chaos. It's order out of chaos, and you're creating this image of a perfect family, and it's not a perfect family. It's a demonic family. Period. Unless it falls under widowed or someone beating you, and some would say even if the person cheated on you, you don't want to catch diseases and they just have an issue with cheating, then yeah, of course that's different. But we're not, and let me just say this about cheating. We're not talking about a little bit of, one time and you just don't forgive them. We're talking about a serial cheater. Like, they just can't help it. You know what I mean? And you don't want to catch a disease. So, and the scripture talks about that. But then some people believe that how do you leave someone and then practice forgiveness, which the Messiah said you're supposed to forgive 70 times 7. So that means that no matter what that person's done, you're supposed to forgive them 70 times 7. And if you're really forgiving, how do you leave that person then? Now some would say, well, you could use that forgiveness clause with beating. Somebody's beating you, you're supposed to stay there and just take it. Well, we also have this little thing called wisdom, knowledge, understanding. And we know that if someone is mentally ill, because you got to be mentally ill if you're beating your wife or if you're trying to beat on your husband's, you're mentally ill. So that's different. Again, it falls under the person needs serious help. But you shouldn't leave them. You should go and get them help. And if the help doesn't change them, then you move on. You don't become their slave to the beatings. You just figure out a way to get them help, because it's probably some type of mental illness that's going on and they need help, right? That's why it's important to make a decision of who you're going to date, who you're going to marry before you marry them. Know who they are so that you're not making these horrible mistakes that people make when they marry someone and then they find out later that this person was not a proper person to marry. We live in a world where people love to fantasize about what they want their life to be in a relationship versus accepting the person for who they really are. I call it professional fairy taleologist. And it used to be just women that would live this way, but now it's men too. We have a problem with that as well, as it was brought to my attention from another person that I know, a friend of mine. She brought it to my attention. She says, guys are doing the same thing. And I said, you're right, because they are getting the money, they're getting the cars, they're becoming simps, marrying women with kids who already have great fathers. A lot of these women are remarrying because they just got tired of the guy. The guy was a great guy and they just got tired of him. So they decided, you know what, I'm going to marry somebody else, and they make up some bogus excuse as to why it wasn't going to work. And with that excuse, they go off and just start another whole family. Well, that's demonic. That is not godly. That's not the Messiah's way. The Messiah's way is for us to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, not destroy the earth. And we're destroying the earth with step parents. Step parenting is destroying the earth. It's better for you to stay single and raise your children than to marry some person to make you happy, but subjugating that person, or I should say subjugating your kids to that person who may or may not even love your kids. People can fake love. People can play like they love something just to get what they want. People do it all the time. The people that really love you are the ones that are still fighting for you even when you treat them bad. Those are the people that love you. The fathers who still want to see their kids, the fathers that still try to buy you flowers on Mother's Day, even though it didn't work out. Those are the people you should be working out your relationship with, not these step people. These step people, a lot of them are sent by the demonic force, period. I'd say the majority of them are, especially today. Today we're promoting so much brokenness that it's kind of cool to have some type of broken energy that's going on with you. We're broken and we're this and we're that and we are the brokens, we are the underdogs. We fighting for, it's like, come on now, all this sad, satanic, occult ritual songs that you're speaking over yourself. You're not broken. Yahushua brought us all here, the Messiah brought us all here fixed and ready to go, to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. We just chose to follow that other energy, which brings me closer to my last point, and that is, if you look at Snoop Dogg, He's on the cover of People magazine, and I put that is the cover of this episode because I wanted to really hone in on how they want to take away the perfect father and replace him with Snoop Dogg, who is a known gangster, rapper, weed smoker, and now he's the new image of fatherhood and family man, and he is supposed to be the leader of a morality with no class, though. He has no class. And I love Snoop Dogg. I love Snoop Dogg's music. I love his image. The guy is so vibed out. Like, he is the coolest of the coolest. We almost had him as a guest on our podcast. A couple times we got close to having him on the podcast. So I'm not dissing him as a person. I'm talking about imagery right now. I'm not talking about, because see, we don't know who Snoop Dogg is as a man without the image. But let's be honest, he's selling an image that's questionable. I mean, when you have kids now that are following him because of the Dogland cartoons, when they get older, they're going to look at some of his old stuff, and they're going to see the music that he's put out and how he's, bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks, lick on your nuts and we're going to see all that stuff that he put out. Those kids are going to see that, and then they're going to be confused as to how did this guy become the poster child of perfect family, and he put out all this content and continuously, even today, promotes smoking weed, which some people believe is drugs. It's addictive. He still puts out not gangster music. He puts out hip hop that's questionable in terms of the lyrics. So we're not talking about, again, as I said earlier when I started this podcast episode, we're not talking about these men and what they do outside of their image. We're just talking about the image. I want you to get that in through your head. I'm not dogging Snoop Dogg as a person. I honestly feel like Snoop Dogg knows that the image he's putting out is not necessarily positive now that he's older. And that's why he's probably trying to do all these cool things that brings the family together. So I don't want to say, I'm not dogging him. I want to make that clear. As a person, as a man, I think his heart is in the right place. I've seen him, how he is with his family. But we can't deny the image. And the image is what I'm talking about. The image that people follow, and ultimately that energy is going out into the atmosphere, and ultimately it's evil energy, and it breaks up homes. It disrupts things. It doesn't bring people together. Now, what we're seeing now is we're bringing together chaos. So the chaotic version of family, which is what I feel the Snoop Dogg image is now the cool thing. So it's cool to have step kids with different father, different mother, different this. This father smokes weed, but he's good over here. Or this mother does drugs, or she, does threesomes with her husband. But it's cool because she still loves her husband, or the kids, or, it's just this really weird dichotomy of evil. Happily divorced. I think there was a show called Happily Divorced or something where these couple or the new person, that the old father is accepting of the new husband that she married, and they're both sharing parental responsibilities, and they're all just this one happy family. I know Will Smith did a show called All of Us that kind of represented that same image. There's, I forget, Wayne Brady. I think he just did a show. It's a reality show that kind of represents that. That's all demonic, people. It's all demonic. It's not the way Yahushua the Messiah intended it. Now, culturally, I do understand that in some cultures a person can have more than one wife. I do understand that, but that's different. You understand that patriarchy is still that the head is the father. So he knows where all his kids are at. He knows where all his women are at, his wives. And they're all in on it. And they all know this is the structure of life. But it's not a stepfather with two wives. You see what I'm saying? Where there's a father and then there are two women, sets of kids married to this one guy. And then the father is left out. The two fathers are left out that fathered the kids, or the one father is left out that fathered both of these sets of kids, and now there's a new person that plays step to his kids, while he had to sit there and watch and take it up the That would be we would think that was insane to see a person be a stepfather to two wives from a previous marriage and sets of kids. Like we would think that would be insane, right? Well, it's just as insane today with one set of kids with a wife, and the father has to watch from outside the window and watch and go, dang, I can't be there for my kids. And I remember one day, and I say this candidly, and I say this with respect, but I always like to share parts of my world with you guys because it shows that I'm honest and I'm not trying to play like I'm perfect and have all the answers. I feel like I've learned from my mistakes, and that's what makes me perfect, if anything, is that I learned from my stuff. But I remember one day, the mother of my daughter, who has a previous daughter, she's now an adult and she's in college, but at the time she was like 4 years old. I remember she walked up to me and was bawling her eyes out, missing her father. I mean, she just had a panic. She panicked. She just had a panic. It hit her at 4 years old that she didn't have her dad and her mother in the same house. And she was needing me to console her. And I remember telling her, your dad loves you. It's just that they didn't work out for whatever reason. But the dad loves you. Your dad loves you. And I just remember the feeling, the brokenness that I felt from that. Because I knew she liked me too. I knew that she even had love for me. And because there were times she would go, hey, can I call you dad? And I said, you know what? As much as I would like for you to call me dad, you have a dad. It might hurt his feelings. So just call me Carl. And she goes, okay, that's fine. But I just remember feeling like, man, this is such a gut-wrenching thing. Little did I know it was demonic. I didn't know that it was demonic to break up families and to mess up the kids that way. I saw it as, like a lot of guys who are not simps, we saw it as, oh, well, we got to be there for the kids. We need to be there for the kids. We need to be there for the mom. And, you accept her, you accept the kids. If you don't accept the kids, you're not accepting the mother, and blah, 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 But it's just demonic. If you have kids with the father right now and you keeping him from seeing his kids, I'm talking about marriages, first-time marriage. I'm not talking about me. My situation is a little different. Although I'm now working through seeing my daughter, for a couple years, it was very rough. But I knew why. It's because I sowed the seed. I didn't sow with the right person. I didn't build with the right person. I built with the wrong person. So I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about you guys who have first-time marriages, first-time husband, first-time wife, and you are keeping your kids from seeing their father, or you're trying to divorce the father, or you're trying to divorce your wife, or you've left her and she's hurt. You are an idiot. You are an idiot. You need to run to your wife right now, find her wherever she's at. I don't care how difficult she is, and you make it work. You make it work. If she still loves you and you still love her, but there's just a lot of frustration and misunderstanding, you make it work for your kids' sake. The devil's painted this lie that, well, it's better to just leave each other than to hurt the kids. That is a lie. The kids need to see you work it out. That's what they need to see. They don't need to see you leave and quit. They need to see you work it out. They need to see you go, okay, daddy messed up or mommy messed up. Let's figure this out. Let's work together and be a team. Because that's what the true way of forgiveness and love works. That's how it works. That's how Yahusha works. He, the Messiah, want us to practice love with each other. And the best way you can practice love with each other is through your husband or through your wife. Now, a lot of you chose the wrong person to marry. Well, you made your choice. You made your bed. You got to make it work. So to you young people that are not married, and I'm one of those young people, I guess, because I've never been married. Choose wisely. Whatever I can. If I can't tell you anything, if you don't take nothing from this podcast episode, choose wisely. Choose wisely. Know who that woman is. Know who that man is. And I don't mean question them and trying to ask them and trying to figure them out, because people lie. I'm saying go by their actions. If they are there for you all the time, no matter what, and they always got your back, that's a good person. Don't go by what they say. If they see that you have a need and they figure out a way to try to help you fix it, that's who you go with. If you see that this person is always doing things for you without you asking, that's a good person. If you see the person, you did something to hurt them and their attitude toward it is loving or understanding or hurt, but they're not expressing it too much because they just want to make the relationship work, that's a good person, and you protect that person. You don't use them, you don't abuse them, you don't mistreat them. You treat them with love. Be thankful for that gift, and then you be a better person. Don't be no, don't be no D-head. But I can say that. Don't be no dickhead. Don't be no dickhead. Women can be dickheads too. Learn from that. Learn from your mistakes. Know that you are not perfect. So don't be so hard on other people. Show empathy. Show compassion. Show love. Show understanding. Show joy. Show forgiveness. Because as you forgive others, that's how the Messiah will forgive you. That's how the Messiah will be there for you. But as you try to live in this place of judgment, where you judging everybody, judging everything that person does, left and right, being disrespectful to that person left and right. And when I say judge, I don't mean like, call things out. If you see something that's not right, you call it out. That's not judging. You just said, hey, this is not good. I don't think this is great for us. We need to work through this. So yeah, you call things out. But I'm talking about judging people where if every little bitty thing they do is just something you just have a problem with. A lot of women have that issue where they just nitpick at their husbands. And it's like, woman, you are not perfect. Shut up. Sit down. Be thankful that you got a husband that takes care of you and loves you. If he leaves his drawers on the floor, pick the drawers up, wash them, or go to Target and spend his money and buy something where his drawers can hang in. I bet he won't do it no more. Start spending the money. If he does something you don't like, go to Target and buy something that's, and say, well, honey, I bought it because you always leave your clothes on the floor. So I came up with this carpet mover thing that takes the clothes and puts them in the hamper for you. And he's gonna be like, but $4,000? And he's gonna be like, you know what? I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing in this house, because this woman gonna have me go broke. I'm being funny, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not that serious. It's just life. Figure out a way to make it work and be loving in the process. And don't fall for the broken home concept that they have created, because it's alive and well and it's trending. in the spiritual realm. In the spiritual realm, it's trending to be in a broken home and to be a step parent, to be a stepmother, to be a stepdad. It's cool now. Meanwhile, the people that really love you are out on the outskirts, broken hearted, not being able to be there for the kids, not being able to raise their children, not being able to be a family and love and build together. And these step demons, I call them step demons, are sitting there laughing, going, ha ha ha, I broke up another family. Step demons know how to play charming. Step demons know how to make you think they're in love with you. Don't think just because you found something that you think is better that it loves you. It will turn on you so fast. So don't get it twisted. Don't think just because it's so nice to you that it's going to treat you right forever. It might treat you right for a season, you know, but that a season only lasts for as long as that person wants it to. I've heard so many stories where people have left great families, great homes, husbands and wives, only to just go out and think that they're going to meet somebody better or meet somebody that they think is better, and only for that person to hurt them and do them the same way they did the person that really truly loved them. Don't be that person. Don't be in the rest home old and gray and nobody want to come see you because you hurt the few people that did love you. You find somebody that loves you, that's a gift. So don't let these people out here make you think that broken homes are cool, that being a stepdad is cool, that being a stepmother is cool. Don't have them people having you feeling that way. Go find your original husband, go find your original wife, and go build with that person that you had kids with. Don't fall for this image. Don't fall for this child support. Because child support is just another word for the government raising your kids. That's all it is. It's just the government raising your children without the father that truly loves them raising them. They don't want the father raising them because the father represents the Messiah. It's the Messiah first, the husband second, and the wife and kids get their love from the father and the husband. The father in heaven meaning the Messiah, and then the father that marries the woman that he had kids with. That's how love is given to the kids and the wife. It's through that man and through that structure. And if a woman is single, she's getting her love from her real father until she's married. That's why the father gives her away to the husband on the wedding day, because you got to have that father's blessing, right? Because the blessing comes from above, the Messiah, then it is given to the father, the man, and then the man gives his daughter away to another man who represents his connection with the heavens. See, it's all about breaking that up. That's what the devil wants. He wants to break that up. He wants to destroy that so that everybody is getting their energy from him and not from the Messiah. That's what this is all about. The devil wants, or evil wants, to disrupt that. It's not wants to, it's doing it. It's disrupting it. Like I said, the Cosby Show. That's the image we all should be striving for. Original father, original mother with original kids. Original father, original mother with the original kids. Original father, original mother, and the original kids.